Welcome back. If you're just tuning in, this is Safiya on TV Gotel, and we have come to our first interview segment. We have here a topic on terrorism, and to discuss this topic with us, we have Dr. Lionel Rawlins, the coordinator of the AUN's security coordinator, and we have this segment every Saturday morning. Very helpful tips from Lionel every time. It's great to have you on your show, and you are looking
royal.
I'm speechless. Actually, this is royalty with class on it.
Oh, that's right. I'm a real royal today.
Yes,
it's very expensive.
Yeah, it is. It sure looks that.
Definitely. And it fits you like a charm.
Back of the
Safiya.
Yeah. But so you like my outfit?
Oh, yeah, it's great. Looks splendid on you.
I wore it for you, actually.
Wow, I'm impressed. I love it too.
Right, now, terrorism. Terrorism, something that's been, these days, kind of common in many countries all around the world, especially here in Nigeria. We've been witnessing some cases of terrorism, and it's an issue that we actually need to look very deep into. But before we go into the deep areas, let's get a brief definition of what terrorism really is. What is terrorism?
Well, terrorism is one of those other complex and misunderstood words, because there are over 150 definitions of terrorism.
Okay.
And depends on who you talk to, it's different. Like the United Nations have their own definition of terrorism, which differs to the FBI, which differs to Scotland Yard, and I'm sure it's different here in Nigeria. Just because no one can come to a proper understanding of what terrorism really is, because it could either be political or it could be religious. But to sum it up, to give you a definitive definition that is kind of universal, it is the systematic use of terror to instill fear by killing a lot of innocent civilians for the purpose of compelling a government to act on something or not to act on something.
Okay.
So it's fear, it's terror to cause fear by killing a lot of innocent people to set up a cause, maybe to have the government stop doing something or for the government to act on something. Okay. So it's to coerce the government, usually.
And it's always for a cause.
It's always for a cause. Okay. It is never without a cause.
Okay.
And the cause could be political, religious, it could be anything. Sometimes it's non-political as well.
Okay. Terrorism. Now it's a word that most are used to. Most don't even know exactly what it means and all that. But where does it originate from?
Good question. A lot of people probably don't know that, but it comes from the French word terrorisme.
Terrorisme.
Terrorisme, yes. Okay. And it came from during the French Revolution, when they had the reign of terror. The Jacobins used that word terrorism for the very first time. And they took it from, well, the French word terrorisme came from the Latin verb terreo, or terrero, yeah, which means I frighten.
Okay.
Or to frighten, to scare. So you see the fear and to scare and to frighten. And that they use that terreo, I frighten, that came back from the days of the Roman Empire, when they call them the terror Cerimticus, that these are the people who terrorized Rome for such a long time.
The terror Cerimticus.
Yes.
Okay.
And it was a tribe, actually, and they terrorized Rome for a very long time and caused Rome to go into a state of emergency and the people to go into a state of panic. And so when the Jacobins imposed that during the French Revolution, that it was the impact and the effect they were trying to put into effect. So since then, we've heard the word terrorism being used. They never used to call it. They never had any real names.
Okay.
But terrorism didn't start just there. The the first group of terror that we know about was started in 1 AD with the
1 AD.
Yeah,
1 AD.
that
Wow.
way back with the, and started in Israel with the Jews who were fighting against the Roman Empire, and the name of that terrorist group was Sicarii Zealots, the Sicarii Zealots. That is why, and they use a certain special kind of knife to kill you. That is why today there's a certain kind of knife, those knives with those twists and turns. That's what they call them, a Sicarii.
It's kind of
It's
a
usually not a straight
Yeah,
knife,
not a
you
straight
know,
knife,
it's
right?
some of them could be curved,
Curved,
some just
exactly.
those. All right.
And that is where that's why they call that knife a Sicarii, from the
Okay.
Sicarii Zealots from 1 AD. And that's why people use that knife
that's
to
a
this day.
scary weapon.
It is. 'Cause when it goes in, when it comes out, it's taking out everything.
Oh
that's
yeah,
inside.
I wouldn't want to be
That's terrible.
touched by
Yeah,
that.
looking at terrorism now, there are some people that are not just called terrorists, you know. There are some people that believe that they are freedom fighters. Some say they are freedom fighters, others say they are terrorists, but you see that their methods of operations are almost the same, you know. They operate almost in the same way. So who are these freedom fighters and who are terrorists? Are they the one and the same thing, or there are a big differences?
That's another very interesting question and statement. Yes, some people think that they're freedom fighters and some people call them terrorists. Now, if you're fighting for your freedom and you're fighting for democracy, the government will call you a terrorist. But those people call themselves freedom fighters, or they can call themselves rebels or revolutionaries and stuff. An example of that would be, let's look at Syria right now.
Okay, so that means rebels are also can also be called freedom fighters and
Yes.
terrorists.
Yeah, because they're the ones who give themselves those nice names, you know,
Okay.
son of the soil,
Okay.
the people's revolutionaries, and stuff like that.
Okay.
But the government, because you're attacking the government, will refer to you as a terrorist.
Okay.
But you don't believe you're a terrorist, you're fighting for freedom. As if we look at what's going on in Syria, the rebels that we call rebels, they call themselves rebels or they call themselves revolutionaries, but they also call themselves freedom fighters because they're fighting for the freedom. But if you spoke to Assad, he's calling those people terrorists. And so that is one of the other reasons why it is so difficult to come up with a real good definition of terrorism, because who is a terrorist and who is a freedom
Exactly.
fighter?
That's kind of who's a terrorist to who? Because a terrorist to me might not be a terrorist to you.
Yeah,
I mean,
but coming
it's-
to look at it, if you think or you know what you are fighting for is a just cause, you have a good propaganda, you have a good agenda, you would want to achieve something you need to be done for you. Must it necessarily involve the taking of lives, you know? Isn't there a better way to do it than just to, you know, just take up your arms,
Yes.
you know,
a less
and
harsh
begin to-
way.
Well, exactly. The best way would be to talk it over.
Okay.
But that does not always happen, because if it's like trying to reason with a crocodile. The crocodile is not going to listen to you, and the crocodile doesn't care what you say.
So who's the crocodile? The government or
the rebels or
It could be the government, and it could be the freedom fighter.
Okay.
You see, or it could be the terrorist, whichever term you want
Term
to
you
use,
want.
or it
Okay.
can be the government. But no, it does not involve killing people. But we are not living in that kind of a world where things are so peaceful and you can get away from it. Actually, some people believe that there is a reason and a need and a purpose to kill people to achieve your goal. And these people have said that if your country has gotten to the brink of destruction, and to bring it back from the brink of destruction means killing a lot of people or half the people, then do it.
All right. So does it mean that there's a justification for killing innocent souls?
There's no justification for doing it. But for some people, You know, the reasonable man will say, no, there's no justification for killing anyone. They don't even want to kill you if you get the death penalty. So they think that the state should not be involved in killing people. However, there's another group of people who believe that they take the things so seriously. For example, whatever it is they're fighting for, if they do not achieve that purpose or that goal, they will believe that that is even worse than killing 1,000 people. By not achieving their goal is worse than not killing 1,000 people. So they would rather kill 1,000 people to achieve their goal. Whether they achieve it or not, they don't mind killing. And that is one of the things you see happening in the world about terrorism, whether it's in North Korea, whether it's in the Middle East, or even here. That's why people are getting killed all the time. And you just get killed just being in the wrong place at the wrong time. Okay. There's no reason, though, not to go around shopping. There's no reason to change or alter what you do, because then you become a victim in your own right. Because if you're not going to go to work because you're afraid of a terrorist attack, I mean, it can happen right in your house. And a lot of people are saying, like I'm speaking to people in Nigeria, and they'll say, you know, we're afraid to go out, we don't want to go out. That's crazy, just go out.
Yeah.
Because you don't know where the next attack is going to happen.
It could be right in your backyard.
It could be right in your backyard and you don't even know.
Definitely.
So if just to live in your house for the rest of your life because you're afraid to get killed, you're going to die.
It just might come right to your doorstep.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay.
Remember, everybody wants to go to heaven, but nobody wants to die.
Exactly. So
Okay,
then, is there such thing as a terrorist state or country? Can a country or a state be classified as a terrorist country?
Oh yes. A lot of countries have been classified as terrorist states, and what it is called state-sponsored terrorism, or the country is sponsoring terrorism, and. A clear example, and they do this by either funding terrorist groups, by giving them money and letting them go out to kill people, or you can do it through your foreign policy. A classic example is Iran and North Korea. And if you notice, they're not in sync with the rest of the world, because if they were not engaged in state-sponsored terrorism, they will be a part of the world community, but they're not, so they're separated. But what they do is fund terrorist groups and terrorist organizations by giving them a lot of money and telling them, go out in the world and kill. Go to America and kill. Go to Nigeria and kill some Nigerians. Go to England and kill some Brits.
Okay.
Or if they're not doing that, they're doing it through the foreign policy and selling nuclear weapons and stuff to countries that should not be having nuclear weapons. So think of Iran, think of North Korea, and you will see a state sponsor of terrorism.
But they all definitely have goals or aims that they want to achieve.
Absolutely. They're not doing it willy-nilly. They either want to destroy that country, or to destroy that government,
or send out a warning.
Or send out warnings.
Okay.
But these warnings are used as in the form of threats. Look what's going on in North Korea now. That's a big sponsor of terrorism in North Korea. And now they're looking forward, they're acting up as if they want to appear to be strong and bold and that they can do this. But the truth is, and nobody ever wants to say that, yes, North Korea has a few weapons, and they might be able to attack Japan because it's its neighbor, South Korea because it's its neighbor, but they could never inflict a wound on the rest of the world so badly that the rest of the world will back off. I mean, they have nothing there. It's just send a drone over there and you can take out North Korea within minutes.
I say they're not launching those missiles.
They won't launch anything.
Yes.
Yeah,
See?
they're just mere threats, right? You think they're mere threats?
Yeah, threats. Just as terrorism. There are ways. They're probably levels. I mean, steps you take. If you don't just go into the harsh, the direct, hey, let's start killing. But what types of terrorism are there then?
Well, you have different kinds of terrorism. You have, like I just said, state-sponsored terrorism, where the country or the government or the state is the sponsor of terrorism.
Okay.
You also have a thing called civil disobedience terrorism, which is when you have demonstrations and strikes, that sort of things, when they're going through the city and they're demonstrating, and then it turns violent and they start breaking stores and, you know, breaking into businesses and destroying the city. But you also have political terrorism. As we know that the politicians can get really nasty and dirty, and it's either for them as politicians, as individuals, or it could be the country trying to put forth a political agenda. And you also have non-political, which is the opposite. But you also have religious terrorism, which is a very dangerous one, because people will fight and die for their beliefs, because it is faith-based. If I truly believe that by killing you, I'm going to go to heaven. Now, one group of people think that if you kill people, murder people, you're not going to heaven.
Yes.
There's another group who believe that if you kill people, you'll actually go to heaven.
But the right people.
With the right people, there's no one ever goes to heaven if you kill people. Because killing people is not condoned in any religion. And to go there and kill people and thinking you're going to benefit from it righteously or faithfully is crazy to even have that thought. But there are people who actually believe that. And it's not just you have religious cults, people who have their own, in the United States, you have them all over the world, people who have their own idea of what God wants or what God believes, and they will kill you for that. They will kill if you, and there could be just 100 followers, it could be thousands of followers. We had a guy in the United States named Reverend Jim Jones. I don't know if you all heard of him, but he took thousands of people from the United States on a religious crusade to the Caribbean and poisoned all of them. So, these people had nothing to do with Christianity or Islam or Buddhism or anything. It was just some crazy people getting together.
Okay.
All right, so you had already spoken on some of the things that could, possibly bring up terrorism, and the different types of terrorism. But what can you say is a motivation? Okay, what motivates a man to just become a terrorist? Because I know you don't just wake up one day and then get bloodthirsty. Yes. You just go killing people and all that.
Unless you're crazy, right?
There definitely must be something that you actually thought of, or something you've conceived in your mind for quite a long time before you finally let it out. So what could be actually some motivational factors, some things that motivate humans or people to become terrorists?
Well, that's another fascinating question. People are motivated by different reasons. But wherever you find, again, I'm coming back on the poverty, wherever you find poverty, abject poverty, you're going to find a good recruiting ground for terrorists. And what the people do, the leaders of terrorism, they're usually educated people. They're college educated, they're smart, but they don't go out and blow up themselves. And if you ask them, why don't you blow up yourself? And just to prove a point, they say, oh, no. Somebody's need to lead the organization.
Oh, yes.
And I'm the one who's going to lead it. But let's go out there and get Joe and John and Jack.
A few more to join the group.
Exactly.
That's why they're educated.
That's why they're educated. So you go out and you get people who are very poor and impoverished.
And they use them as pawns.
People who can't read very well. If you cannot read very well, you do not reason to very well. And you will actually get them to, you psychologically get them revved up. And to the point, I mean, you don't just go and strap on a bomb and they have to psychologically brainwash you and get you into it. And even then, there are instances where some people have actually changed their mind. Like a suicide bomber would go to blow up a place or blow up someone or blow up a group, and have actually changed their minds when they got there. They say, "Whoa, I don't know if I'm ready to do this," and they'll go back.
Think twice.
So now what they do, exactly, you think twice, so you count to 10 and you realize, what am I doing? But then what they do now is they strap you with a kind of a bomb that whether you change your mind or not, I will do it from here. So if you don't want to do it, I have a remote control, I will do it to you. So when you put that bomb on, you must know that that's where you're going. Many people also, their families are promised money. And if so, a poor man will say, he weighed the difference, the cost-benefit analysis. If I was told that if I blow myself up, I kill a lot of people, this group of people, whoever they are, will take care of my family for the rest of their lives. So then I'm dying thinking that my family will be well off because I have nothing. So wherever you find people who have nothing to gain, nothing to lose, and no future, that is where you'll find a good recruiting ground.
Definitely. These are people that do not think beyond a particular point. They believe whatever I believe that whatever they've witnessed in life or experienced is probably the furthest they can go. And there's nothing, and also the responsibility of taking care of their family it means they've done all they need to do for the rest of the, they've taken care of business there, So now briefly before we round up, how can government tackle these kind of problems, terrorism?
Well, it's a tough thing for any government to tackle terrorism. For one, the terrorists don't wear uniforms, so they're your normal average guy. I mean, I could be a terrorist, you wouldn't know it. And you could be a terrorist and I wouldn't even know it. Because we're normal average people. They look normal, they look average. So one of the things that government has got to do is have good intelligence. And the intelligence must be on the ground. And they have to be able to go on out and keep doing what they're doing. Because if you gather the intelligence, then you know where to find the people. One of the reasons why you see the rest of the world, why you see America is doing so well, is because they have good intelligence structure all over the world. And so whenever something is happening, they can put the finger on it. But the terrorists also have a good network too. They're watching you. I mean, your neighbor could be very well working with the terrorists you don't know. So they need to be able to have good intelligence network. But one of the things they also have to do is get the people out of poverty. If you take care of the people, educate them, maintain a level of economic resource for the people, then they will cut down on all of the aspects of terrorism that you can find.
Well, fortunately we have to round up now the interview, but we definitely will have more of this next week, Saturday. Thank you for coming on the show, Lionel. It was great having you.
You know, I'm traveling. I'm traveling somewhere.
Okay. So next week Saturday we'll have to fill it in with something else.
And I'll bring you back something, and that'll be considered a bribe.
A good bribe.
If I brought you back something, that'll be a bribe. It'll be corruption. Remember that?
Yes, of course. Yes.
So do we still need what is going to bring for us?
We need it, but we'll just call it a gift.
A gift.
Yeah,
Yes,
a gift
that's the other
instead,
name
not a
of it.
bribe. That's a better word for it.
That's right. So if I brought him a nice watch like this,
Yes.
then that's a real bribe.
All right, we'll keep it simple then and make sure it remains a gift. Right. Well, that has been the interview on terrorism. We've we're just about to round up, and still more to come. We still have an interview with the doctor on infertility. Before then, we'll go on a short break, and when we return, Safiya continues.
Yes, sir.